general fund will be higher than the general purpose school fund as far as the overall percentage or overall amount of the tax levy per $100. So I think that we are respectfully not solving the problem, we're shifting the problem here. And we are, and we've been hit. There's a self-regulating feature based into declining pupils. It's called the weighted full-time equivalent, ADA. And that's the way that local taxes are divvied up. When we lose pupils, we get less of a share of the tax dollars in the county local taxes. So we've seen our percentage drop from over 87% down to 85%. So we're getting less on the share. We could potentially get less on the allocation. So it just seems like all this is piling up and hitting us all at once.
So the reduction in the BEP funds,
No,
is that from?
That's, I haven't got that yet. This is the way we divide local tax dollars. We take the attendance, best two of the first 3 months, and then there's a weights applied to that based on law, and that comes up with a proportional sharing. If you go over to the trustee's office, you'll see a sheet, probably somewhere in their office there, that tells you how all the different allocations, the levies, are allocated from the tax levy. At the bottom of that sheet, there's a proration sheet that looks at Roswell City, Kingsport City, Hawkins County Schools. That is based on that weighted full-time equivalent ADA calculation. So you'll see that we are declining in that share of money. So for example, if we were looking at $10, if we're getting $8.50, then another $1.50 is being divided between Roswell City and Kingsport City. Versus where we're getting $8.70. So like I said, there's a self-regulating feature there if we're declining enrollment. In addition to that, the state has removed what's referred to as a stability provision in the BEP. Under stability provision, if your enrollment dropped, you would be funded at the prior year's calculation, and that would give you a year to adjust. That's been removed. So you take all that hit the first year. So what we've seen on our BEP, and this is our April estimate, that received our May yet, is $763,000 less required to increase instructional salaries $609,000. And since our system weighted average salary is less than the state weighted average salary by about $4,000, we have to pay benefits, which is right at $102,000. So that's a $1.47 million swing, if you will, decrease in funds and a required increase in the budget. So then a potential reduction in local funds plus a smaller share. Still have the same number of buildings. Light bill's not any cheaper. Gas bill, sewer bill, all those things are not any cheaper. In response to that, we've tried to reduce staffing. With the latest round of cuts, we've cut 40 positions. So I think we're trying to make a good faith effort to do our part. But I would ask that you give serious consideration to not reducing the local share. Because we still have needs. We still have a school, have to have a principal. We have a grade level, we have to have a teacher. And we have to meet these requirements. Kindergarten through third grade have to average 20 students per grade level. Not exceed 25 in a class. So when I have 26 kids, I have to have 2 teachers. the regulations, we cannot exceed 25 in class. So we may have 24 in another school, and just make it under 26 here, but I have to fund 3 teachers. We only generate funding for 2. So there's lots of challenges there we face, and I understand that all departments have challenges. But I think one of the most important thing we can do is educate our children, because they are the future of our county.
Well, this committee was tasked with looking for cuts. You heard the full commission, that's what they've instructed all along. And with what has been projected to transfer, still needs the maintenance of effort in the schools. That projection will probably go before the full county commission when we meet with the workshop with them. At that point, you need to speak with them, because ultimately their full county commission will be the one that's going to say, we're not going to take that money, we'll increase funding to cover it. Or they'll be the ones to say, we're not going to increase funding and we're taking the money.
I understand you have a very difficult job. I do. But I also understand that my job is to advocate for the children of this county and to make sure that they have the opportunities that they need. We made a lot of progress in the last few years here, and we don't want to take a step back. We want our children to continue to have opportunities, so when they graduate, they can either go to college or career and be prepared. And that's what I'm here today to advocate for.
Well, thank you, Steve. I appreciate you taking time to stick around and
Hey, just a
explain
minute.
that to the budget committee.
Before you go, I just want to get out there. Could you tell this committee and these people in the room how many buildings you got to take care of?
If I'm not mistaken, it's 90-something.
96 or 97, ain't they?
Somewhere in that neighborhood, yes.
And I know you're aware of some situations on the roofs that we got to look at, right? I just want to get this out there for the committee and the commissioners that's here. If we take his money away from him, and I'm telling you, I know for sure, we've got a lot of roofs that's real bad that we're going to have to replace that money sooner or later. Am I right, Mr. Thomas?
Well, that's the thing about when you diverted funds away from education debt for service, we can no longer incur any further debt. Is that right, Ken?
Correct.
So any capital project that we would have to do would have to come from our fund balance within the education. So as we look to these roofs, as we look to other issues that we have to address, then it's going to be basically a pay-as-you-go. Now, if we're operating our budget on fund balance, and we're having to operate or pay as we go for capital expenditures, I think we've seen where we'll end up very quickly.
I just want everybody to know that ahead of time. That we'll be facing it. No way around it. I mean, Cherokee volunteers are 20 years old. They're bad. I work on it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks for staying around. You have a question? Okay, on the expenditures, the committee looked at a few years of actual and estimated expenditures, determined if some line item reductions could be made. These line item reductions have been applied to multiple budgets. All departments have been notified of their line item reductions. All contributions that are not a contract or maintenance of effort are being cut an additional 20%. There were also some departments that already cut their budget voluntarily on draft 1. These cuts are listed in a sheet you should have there in your stack of papers that was handed out by the finance director. The unassigned fund balance in general fund is now estimated to be $253,476 at the end of the 17-18 fiscal year. This figure is subject to change if the preliminary projections for the 16-17 change or if we have unforeseen circumstances that require additional expenditures. If you'll go to your next page, where it says General Fund 101, listing of cuts by a budget committee for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2018. The budget reductions volunteered by office holders on the first draft from the 16-17 was $261,622. Budget line item reductions from original budget to second draft was $77,250. The 20% cut to nonprofit organizations, $105,781. Moving the 4.02 cents to the general fund and final assessment figures from the draft 1 to draft 2, that was the school funds that Mr. Starr was talking about, is $395,856. Additional requests that were not funded or approved for funding by the budget committee was $745,027. Now those are requests such as what Mr. Starnes was talking about, if projects come up that he's going to have to do, such as roofs or HVACs. Those are projects that at some point the county's going to have to do. It's going to be, it's not a wish list, and it's not just something that we would like to have. It's going to be necessary things that we're going to have to do. So the total amount of changes proposed to county commission is $1,585,536. The beginning unassigned fund deficit with draft 1 when the budget committee first looked at it was in a deficit of $314,875. The unassigned fund balance with draft 2 is the positive side, $253,476. That was using the estimated fund balance that's going to be coming in at the end of the 16-17 year, which was 1.7 something million. That still puts Hawkins County in, I think it'd be a 1.6 million deficit budget if this budget was to be made for the 18-19 year. You also have a list of what the contributions are going to get with their reductions in front of you. Along with your estimated revenues and expenditures sheets. Your estimated revenue for the 17-18 year, $15,379,793. Your estimated expenditures, $17,010,610. If you'll turn on over to the mandatory increases for the fiscal year coming up, salary increases for the elected officials, $38,577. Increase in taxes and retirement was $6,300. Increase in workers' comp, $164. Mandatory contract increases was $15,827. The total amount of changes to proposed county commission was $60,868. Those are mandatory. You'll see a list outlined below that of how the 5% salary increase to each elected official is affected, and you see how the contract increases, how it's affected. On your next page, you're going to see the timeline to pass the budget, effective is July 1st, 2017. All decisions or recommendations from the budget committee will need to be made by no later than Thursday, June the 8th. This includes the Board of Education budget that has been approved by the school board. The resolutions for this are due Monday, June the 12th, 2017. Budget publication in the Rogersville Review, June 16th, 17th edition. And the resolutions will be considered at the June 26th, commission meeting. That's why a lot of decisions was made last week to cut within line items. I know a lot of elected officials weren't happy with the reductions. We're under the gun here to get this budget passed. You heard what the comptroller said. You heard what it's gonna affect this county if they come in and cut. I don't know if you'd have a single volunteer fire department left in this county if you could take all their funding away. Everything that we appropriate contributions to touches the lives of citizens in Hawkins County, whether it be the senior center, fire departments, your EMS, libraries, everything that we give money to. County commissioners directed cuts. For the past 6 or 7 months, the budget committee has moved forward to try to get some sort of revenue in place. Because we knew we had a tough job ahead of us. We knew we had cuts that are going to have to be made. Wheel taxes failed numerous times. Now the chief of staff from the comptroller's office has been here this morning. He was pretty blunt. He was pretty forward. He's not going to cut 20% here, 20% there. They're going to cut 100% of your contributions. So we have a tough decision to make. Now, I personally don't want to lay the tax increase on the property owners of the county. I don't want the veterans to have to do without a veteran service officer here in Hawkins County.
Amen on that.
Nicole, do you have anything to add with these reductions?
Well, I just wanted to point out the efforts made before the budget committee had to go back and ask. You mentioned the voluntary cuts for draft one. It's over $260,000. So I think the department heads and elected officials are trying to do all that they can do, because they've known since last May, when we met with them, the situation we were in. They froze spending, all that could reduce their budgets by 2% request, and some have gone ahead here again. Almost 262,000 is a significant amount. And in draft two, where you looked at some line item reductions, that included another voluntary reduction the sheriff offered on one of his line items, $22,500. So I know that this budget committee's doing all that they can do to ease the burden. And as far as the timeline, as you know, there's no wheel tax resolution on the May agenda. I don't know if that's something that commissioners or this committee may want to consider adding as an out of order. Of course, if you have one no vote, my understanding is you can't add it. Is that correct?
Correct.
But you've heard the directive, and I think everybody in this room that's heard hears the services that will be impacted countywide. It's big ramifications for the county, and I think the majority of the citizens don't want that for Hawkins County, including the schools. The schools don't want you to keep taking off their backs. But I know that this committee feels like your back is against the wall, and there's no choice but to do what you can when there's been no will to increase any type of revenue. As far as the budget timeline, this is even taking it to the 11th hour at the June meeting, because the directive is pass it effective July 1. The option, I think, could be, if there's no resolution there, but if there's some dialogue to help move the budget passing along, you could always recess and come back June the 30th or later that week. So that is an option that I didn't list on there. If nothing happens June the 26th, but there seems to be some resolution taking place, then you could consider recessing and coming back that week and still meet the directive of the comptroller. But this budget that's before you right now is based on his directive and discussion and instruction to you, is still not a good budget, because it impacts a lot of departments, but it's still a deficit budget of right at $1,631,000, and it leaves you no fund balance. I mean, $253,000, when you heard Rick Hall at our budget work session say you need an unassigned fund balance of around $2.5 million or more. So that's dangerously low. So I just ask you to consider that too.
You spoke on the wheel tax resolution. I do anticipate an out of order wheel tax resolution being presented this month.
Time is of the essence with that. That's why this committee has continued to try to have that at the table for county commission, because you know that there's some timing that it takes to get that in place, because you get your tag renewal a month and a half in advance. So Ms. Davis has talked about, you can try to speed that process along to notify people of what the new rate would be should a wheel tax increase pass, but there's still some timing and a little bit of lag time before you see the increased revenue from the additional wheel tax. Nancy, do you have anything to add to that?
It's just going to, it's going to take some time to institute that, even when it has to pass by a 2/3 majority for 2 months consecutively to even get that started. So, and then after that, it's going to take just a little bit of time to get that instituted, because that has to go to Nashville and start the process there. Also, you already have the law passed by the governor now. I think that's the Improve Act, that July 1, registrations will increase by $5 now.
And to be clear on that, 100% of that $5 increase is going to the state.
Yes.
That is not any local funds. The county will not see any of that. That is part of the Governor's Improve Act to help pay for the roads. I'm not sure if everyone in here is aware, but Tennessee is one of the only states in the nation that doesn't owe for their roads. And so to try to keep that in place, the governor has got the Improve Act passed, which includes the $5 registration fee increase, as well as some gas and diesel tax increases that are going to be phased in over 3 years. And I think those are starting with their fiscal year, the same as ours, July 1. But no amount of that $5 is going to the county funds. That all goes 100% to the state. So even though Nancy's office already is going to have a $5 increase July 1, none of that's going to the county. We want to make sure that the citizens are clear on that. That's state revenue. And another thing he touched on that I didn't mention, I do want to mention, with this budget draft 2, with practically no unassigned fund balance, he talked about our bond rating. We have typically every year, either Moody's or Standard & Poor will have a bond rating review. I would anticipate, if this is the budget that's recommended and approved, that it's very possible that our bond rating would go down, which would not be good for the county either.
Cole, I know that we're not gonna be having a lot of money coming in starting July 1. What are we gonna have to do? Will we have to close offices? What will, explain what will happen?
If you have a budget that you did
Yes,
get
ma'am.
adopted effective July 1, counties are allowed to do what is called tax anticipation notes, when you know that your collections are gonna be coming in, whether it's your property tax collections start in October, the bulk of those come in December and February. So we can borrow money to allow us to have the cash flow to operate. That's not uncommon for counties. We have not had to do that. We were approved to borrow money for this year because our fund balance was so low, but by holding down spending, some departments know, we asked them to, if they didn't need to spend, to wait until our cash flows came in higher. We did not end up having to borrow. We came very close, and Jim can tell you, I called his office daily, especially in September, to check what our cash amount was in our general fund, but that's what we would do. We would get approval, we would have the paperwork in place to get approval to borrow money to allow us to operate until the tax collections come in and we have a sufficient cash flow to operate.
You know, this committee hasn't just sat by the side. We have been working on this since before last May. If you'll look at one of your other sheets you have in front of you, we froze spending last year at the end of May. We had an estimated savings of around $150,000 from that. And the budget we're working in now cuts from the third draft that was presented to county commissioners, $299,729. The additional request that wasn't funded last year by the budget committee was $563,355. 2% cut that we done to the nonprofits last year was $18,788. We moved that 6.5 cents. It was $885,572 that came into the general fund. We done the budget amendment reduction to the county buildings, which was $82,956. Total amount of change that was presented to the county commission was $2,400,000. That's how we got to the projected unassigned fund balance for this year at $842,414. There's been some statements made that we had money hid because our fund balance came in higher this year. If you follow the county budget, historically that always happens. You always have office holders that don't spend their entire budget. They're all good stewards of the county money. Because they have a line item amount don't mean they spend it. They spend what they need to spend to run the county. So by their hard work, their dedication to their budget, that's how you come in at an estimated unassigned fund balance of 1.8 and not 842,000. It wasn't the mayor had money hid in his desk drawer, or we all had it at home. It was in the budget. And it was your office holders that saved the money. Your office holders are doing a good job with their money. And they're getting ready to take another hit because we don't have the revenue to fund them to do their job. Anybody on the committee have any comments, questions, or concerns?
Mr. Chairman, was told this morning, us as county commissioners got the opportunity to take our county forward or backwards. With all the cuts that this committee made in this last 10 hours we worked on, I don't see that we cut any more, and I have a very serious problem with cutting our fire departments because some of them barely can make it now. And I don't know if people in this room knows it or not, but if a fire department closes down close to your residence, the premiums go up.
Yep.
All the premiums shoot up, so I'm not at all for, I think we need to look at our contributions back before we make any decisions, because I'm not at all for cutting our fire departments, and I stand behind them. I know I was told this morning that only this 2% that we're cutting, 20% that we're cutting, some of them would have to close. And you're a fire chief, I don't know how you feel, but how would it put your situation?
Well, I'm not the fire chief today. I'm the budget chair.
Well, I mean, as a fire chief, I'm asking, where would it put you at?
It would cripple. It would cripple. But, and there, I mean, no disrespect when I make this comment, so please don't take it that way. You say you want to fund the fire departments, but you consistently voted no on an increase to fund the fire departments and the budget. And without having that balance of revenue and expenditures, it's hard to fund everything. And that's why the cuts were made, and the budget committee has made the recommendation of the 20% versus you heard Mr. Mumpower make the comment it would be 100%. So if we don't have the money coming in, we can't make a budget that's going to adequately fund not only the fire departments, but your sheriff's office, your veteran service office, your schools, Nancy's office. We've got to have the funds or the cuts are gonna be made. That's the bottom line.
I consistently voted for no tax increase until we made more cuts, and we made the cuts. It wasn't against the fire department. It wasn't against the contributions, but after we, have voted no a few times, looked like we found some more money we could cut, the way I'm hearing this morning. So that's what I was voting consistently no for, and I feel like we've reached the bottom is about as far as we can go. And as far as contributions, I like to see every one of them stay where they're at. But one in particular that I'm real looking at is the fire departments and what all they do and how important they are, and not just them, all the rest of them, but I have a problem with cutting some of our public safety. And again, the reason I voted no for a tax hike, I felt like we could do some more cuts, and we have. I mean, just like you said, we've cut more than the last time we voted, so who says how I'm gonna vote this time? I don't wanna see our county go backwards. I'm glad that we have I'm glad we made some cuts, I'm glad we've done what we can do, but we can do nothing else but have a tax hike. And I don't wanna see a property tax. I'll not support a property tax. Flat and simple. It's gotta be a wheel tax, that's what everybody's wanting. A wheel tax will touch everybody, it won't just touch the property owners. And I've got 7 vehicles registered in my name, and Miss Nancy I don't care one bit to pay how much wheel tax goes up. We've done the cutting that I want to see cut. But I'm gonna have a problem when I come to vote if we don't do something for these firefighters. You're gonna say you're taking them in there and you're winning and leaving the county open. No, I'm not. But I'm gonna have a problem with shutting my fire departments down. And I'm not a firefighter. But I'm sure glad they are spending their time. I happen to have a police scanner on the school bus I listen to, and they work hard. Sheriff's Department, 100% work hard. The EMS rescue squads. I mean, you know, do we want to go backwards with until you need them, they don't do nothing. So I think we need to seriously look at some of this stuff where, you know, when I left the other day, and I want this to go on the record, I'm not for taking the more money from the schools. We can have to put it right back sooner or later. So I'm not gonna vote to take the money from the schools. If Mr. Starnes fired me right now, I'm gonna tell you, as county commissioners, you're still gonna have to leave the funding alone, because there's gonna have to be some stuff done to these buildings.
But you understand, if you vote to not take money from the schools, on that other hand, you have to vote for an increase to make up those difference in funds.
So be it. Because I'll tell you why I say so be it. It don't matter if I run in 2018 or not. The next bunch of commissioners is gonna face the same thing we're facing. They're gonna face the tax hike. They're gonna face the problem that I'm looking at on an everyday basis. They're gonna face the same thing, so I'm not gonna pass the buck to them. I just go ahead and say, I'll support the increase, leave the school money alone, I'll support it. And if I run and get beaten, this beat has been beat before, that's not the end of the world. I don't make my decisions on re-election no way.
Well, you know,
I think we need to look at some things. We got some of our commissioners here today that might want to say something. But I think we need to look at some things. We made some cuts that was requested, some of the stuff that I've heard. We can't cut them all. What can you do? You want Mr. Mumpower to come in and just shut the whole county down and lay off and, you know.
There's some that wants him to come in and do it to embarrass other commissioners, to get rid of them for no reason. That's the problem.
I mean, guys, we can't cut no more. What else can we do?
it's like this, if you don't have the money, you can't spend it.
And let me tell you something again. And I can prove it. Miss Nancy can go over right now and get the records. I've got 7 vehicles registered in Hawkins County.
I've got a bunch, but here's the thing about it. You either have to have the money, you can't spend money that you don't have.
That's
And
right.
the budget committee been trying to tell these other people this for months. Now, everything goes up. Insurance goes up, cost of automobiles goes up, just like the sheriff's department, labor cost goes up, everything goes up, nothing ever goes down. Now, I've been dealing with the city budget for years, and I'm gonna tell you, you either got the money and you got to appropriate it and you fund it, or you cut. It's just that simple.
But since the last time we voted, Mr. Buchanan has cut more. The last 10 years I sat on this budget committee, and listen, we've cut and not given no additional revenue to nobody. We've not granted no money to none elected office. We've cut.
But you're still out way over $1 million too.
Yeah, I know, when we gotta do something.
Well,
We cannot shut the fire departments and the EMS and stuff down and let these people of Hawkins County not have nothing.
then we need to fund it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Nobody likes getting cut.
That's right. We need to make a decision as a budget committee. I'm 100% behind. I think we need a little bit of a bumper. I think we need to have some in reserve.
We need to start building fund balance.
Right.
We need to start building fund balance.
We have no choice. I mean, he told us, Mr. Mumpower told us, if he comes in, all the contributions are gone. Their fire departments are gone, their EMS or rescue squads, libraries, it's all gone if the state comes in. He just told us. So,
Well, there will be,
what we gonna do? I mean, you know, tell me we got some commissioners here, what we gonna do? I mean, it's just out there.
there will be an out of order resolution for the wheel tax put in this month. And it will take, of course, it will only take one commissioner to vote no here in the out of order. And then if that's the case, then when the budget is looked at again, whatever increases we need at that point would have to be on a property tax, because it would have to be voted on to be presented by July.
And I'm gonna add again,
Now, with the property tax not the property tax, if the wheel tax resolution comes through, and the amount isn't what any commissioner feels it should be, they wanna build the fund balance, they wanna fund their nonprofits, they wanna restore their 20%, then it's gonna be based on how much wheel tax the county commission approves. Whatever funds the county commission approves is the funds that the budget will be built out of. Plain and simple, like.
And
like
remember,
Jim
it has to pass with 14 votes in both May and June.
Well, it's our last chance before.
how much wheel tax is the resolution gonna ask for?
I don't know yet, because I'll have to get with,
Let me make it plain and simple to everybody in this room. I'm gonna make it plain, you know, I stand on what I say. I am not voting for a property tax. We've not robbed, but we've drained the property owners too much already. It's gotta be wheel, or I'll not support it. If I've gotta pay $40 for extra to get my vehicle registered, it's just so big.
but just
we
so
made the
you
cuts on
know,
it.
if the wheel tax doesn't pass,
It's gotta
and
be-
we're only pushed with the property tax, and if commission doesn't support the property tax, then we can't fund things like the fire department. They may be looking at a 50 or 60% cut versus a 20% cut. You know, it's gonna be our goal as this committee to present a budget before the state comes in. The state don't have to come in and do my job.
No.
I'm not gonna have that over. We're gonna present a budget. It's just gonna be the amount of funds that come in, as whether or not, how big that budget's gonna be.
Can you, I mean, from what I understood Mr. Mumpower would say, can you not leave the fire department alone, keep them funded, but all the other crap?
No.
Why?
Mr. Mumpower
If he comes in, it's 100%, but you all, why can't you all?
Cause we need the money.
Revenue.
If we start putting things back, then we're not having an
And you're talking
expenditure.
about just cutting it off.
We have to cut to build the fund balance back up. I mean, if we start going in and cherry picking certain things, then we're not
Well,
cutting.
you know, that's an important thing. Humane Society, I mean, you know, good things not knocking in them, but Humane Society, other things, stuff like that. You know, we're gonna have something to do with that for a while, we're in there. Why couldn't we, like I say, if we had all those, like the fire department, which is important to everybody, other stuff is.
Well, it's not fair though to do that, I don't think, and then cut the vets. I think our vets in Hawkins County deserve what they get.
I got a little bit myself, too, I mean, you know,
Well,
we gotta start with
You're starting to put all that back in there.
keep me on board, we're gonna do something for the fire departments. I'm not gonna vote to cut them. We cut them 2% last year, and I voted for it, just to pass the budget, and I wasn't for it then.
Well, let's see how this out of order resolution does this month. And the amount, if it does pass, then we'll take that amount, we'll look again at the revenues and expenditure, and we'll see if there's a reduction to fund your emergency services back. Regardless, we need to do something if we don't want the state stepping in here, because you heard what he's gonna do.
We'll take it out of what funds. Jason,
You can listen to them.
how will it affect you all, what we're doing right
I
now?
mean, ultimately, anytime you cut money, you're gonna end up suffering with services, so, I mean, it's just the same as the fire departments. So, everywhere that you cut, you know, they're gonna have to cut services too. It's not just us, it's not just fire departments, it's anyone that you got, you're gonna lose services from.
That's a total waste people think you look at, too. I know myself, what others, y'all give 30,000 to the EMS, they have to turn around and hand it over to 911. 911's already dispatched, others, that's the three main things they should be getting funded for, by you guys in.
They received $175,000 from the county to
I call them a rescue squad, come to get me. That's
You want a
what
rescue
cost,
squad
but there's
to come
gonna be
get
an EMS guy on board.
I can send a rescue squad to come get you, it's not the EMS. Rescue squad is volunteer.
But
You
anytime
want a
anybody
rescue
calls,
squad or
that's
you want the
usually
EMS?
when people call, that's always what happens.
Do you want rescue or you want EMS?
That's two separate things.
Yeah,
Two separate
Right,
agencies.
right.
Rescue
A
squad and
lot of
EMS.
people don't know that, and I did it myself for years, but when you call, they both come together. You know, you have a rescue squad driving and an EMS guy on
But,
board.
I mean, the 911,
No, you're wrong, Hal.
That's
You're
it.
wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong on that.
Every ambulance that shows up on the scene of a call has a paramedic and an advanced EMT that is running sync calls within Hawkins County.
And the rescue squad is all volunteer. They don't get no money back. They don't bill you.
the EMS is employed.
Because the county commission don't want them to be. The fire departments cannot regain their money by charging for a service because the county commissioner went against them several years ago when they tried that.
And if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Mumpower said this morning that even 911 would be involved in the cuts also. That we're not gonna be cut first. It would be your contributions, it would be, then would go down to your contract. Because when he said libraries, that's maintenance of effort also. And then it would filter down. So you're looking at 911 cuts also.
What we need to do is just fix the problem, don't
Fix the
have
problem
Mr.
before they come
Mumpower
in.
go about his business, and we take care of our responsibility.
I'm in on that one.
That's what we're elected to do, and I don't like a tax increase, and I don't like a real tax increase, nobody does. But when you come down looking at it, when you got all these obligations, and you got all these people that depends on you, and you know, it's not a fun ride, but you gotta do something, you gotta have money. So like I told one lady this week, if you don't have the money, you can't spend it. And they was talking about the 171 students, and she asked me about that, and I said, well, think about this, if the 171 students is down, and you don't have them 171 students, how can you fund them? How can you fund something that you don't have? In my opinion, in my dealings in business and everything, that would go under what, for all of them? In other words, you're appropriating money for some use that you don't have. I mean, you gotta take in a lot of consideration, and the budget committee up here, I'm proud to sit with these folks, because we've been working for this even when Shane Bailey was here. We know what the reality is gonna be. It's either gonna have a lot of cuts, or have an increase in revenue. And I'm like Darrell over here in District 1, everybody I've talked to has told me a real tax. I don't want a property tax increase. We pay enough up here. And I tell them, I said, well, I've done my best, and it takes the full commission, and I said, I want y'all to understand this. We're all elected by the people, and we're not enemies. We don't have enemies between the budget committee and the full commission. We all here trying to do the best we can do for the citizens, and some of us may have a different opinion, but sometimes, you know, like me, I have to back up and reconsider and change my opinion. So I'll shut up with this and let Stacy speak for a while.
this committee and this commission's about at a point, we have no choice. Mr. Mumpower come in and do his job, and we start losing employees, and that's revenue. That's their taxes. So we have no choice. We've got to do something as a budget committee and as a commission. We have no choice.
Gene, I'm gonna be as gray-headed as you before this is over.
We'll just be glad enough to get Greg.
Gene told me 32.
Would you read off that list of the things that, because I don't think anybody really realizes all the things that will go if the state comes in. Could you read that list of CTAS? You just read a couple of things out there, but it's a pretty comprehensive list. And I think people need to understand what all these stand and lose.
Here's one.
The things that could come off, or that are
Yes.
optional, it's the ambulance service, animal control, fire protection, industrial development, planning, recreation, support for nonprofit charitable organizations, and the jail workhouse. There's some other things on there that don't pertain to us, that we don't have, like sewer system, port authority, things like that. That doesn't pertain to us.
But it can pertain to us, Stacy, because one of the things that we apply for every year is 3-star certification through the state of Tennessee. And our cash flow is one of the things that they look at to see if we're gonna get certified. And we get all of our CDBG grants, which is our community block grants, through that. And if we don't have everything in line, we're not gonna get that certification, so therefore you're gonna be losing your CDBG grants. And what happens there, you're losing your incentive for any industry that we have. We've got 4 industries right now in the process of expanding, so we could stand to lose all the incentives that we're giving them through the state at no cost to the county. We're also stand to lose some of the housing money that we get through the state, where we could lose our sewer and our water money that we get from the state, which I think we've got 2 water CDBG grants out right now. So, you know, a lot of stuff, I don't think people realize what all we do stand to lose. We're right in this close, we probably have a plant getting ready to locate in Pittsville. And, you know, everybody keeps saying industry. We got 4 expansions and possibly a new plant coming in. So if we lose all of this stuff, we have no incentives to offer as a county. And so, you know, we stand to lose that also.
Yep, you are correct. It's the trickle down effect.
Exactly.
It's going to affect.
And we have people who do not have internet in this community. If we lose our libraries, that's the only place they'd have to go to access internet. So.
Well, Ms. Browning was in the other day, tell us what she did for the senior citizens. I forget how many meals that senior citizens gets cooked, and taxes and what all she does for those. You know, if the state comes in, that's gone.
Yeah, you've got general fund departments that are potentially gone.
Yeah,
If
I
they
just
come
looking
in.
over there.
Senior Citizens is one.
Red Cross,
Ag Extension is
One
one.
Accord Ministries, Helping Hands.
Well, how do you, all the commissioners here, how do you all feel, just your opinion of bringing the resolution back for the wheel tax? Do you think there will be one vote? Because it has to be, one vote is all it takes to knock it back down and bring it up, right? Just your all's opinion, how do you feel that about it?
My opinion? Yeah, I feel like it could be shot down.
Think it'll be shot down? I do too, I mean, that's how I feel, but I didn't know how the commissioners felt, I just wanted to ask your all's opinion.
Are there any commissioners here today that are going to try to shoot it down?
What was that?
Are there any commissioners here today who will vote to shoot it down?
Until we find out all the facts, you've got to know how much it's gonna be, what the people in your area is telling you and everything, what they want.
Well, the people in my area say wheel tax, do it
$200 wheel tax?
40, is what I'm
See,
doing.
we've not been told, have we? Stacy said we wouldn't know until the
That's
code
what I've been
gets
told
out.
in my district.
I don't know what we might come up with. I mean, we've done 40, we've done 20, we've done 25. I don't know. know.
I agree. People need to know that extra $5 the state's putting on there on top of it too. So.
We have no control like that.
Right, but I mean, that still affects my bill for yours, so like, you know.
We don't have any.
Ain't no control, but it's still there.
I mean, you realize, there's gonna be an increase of some sort.
There's got to be.
There's gonna be an increase.
When I went out and talked to Mr. Mumpower, I asked him to talk plainly, because he kind of beat around the bush with you guys a little bit. He said, you're gonna lose all your contributions, plus you're gonna have a property tax. Because he said he looked at the budget and there's not enough money to cut.
Correct.
With all the contributions and everything that he can cut. So you're gonna lose everything, plus you're gonna have a property tax. That's what
in
he's,
here.
well, I've got it on recording right now, you can watch it online tonight.
You shouldn't say in here.
Well, we've said all along.
He said,
there's
do
no
what you
wheel
need to
tax.
do in here.
Well, he doesn't do wheel tax. All the state will do is property tax. They do not assess wheel tax.
But we're back far enough down the line now that your property tax is really,
At some point, common sense has got to kick in, folks. You're gonna have to have a wheel tax. You're gonna have to vote on a wheel tax in May and be voted May and June. If you don't do that, then you're gonna have to have a property tax in June to have your revenue to come in June. If not, the state will come in July, cut all your contributions, start there and do a property tax. I mean, it's cut and dry. At some point in time, common sense has got to kick in Hawkins County.
It's pretty much like she says, it's going to be happening.
It should have cut in 6 months ago, but it did not. Now, you're going to be the last to stop in the state.
Been going on, that's what the citizens and taxpayers.
Excessive.
that's what I
It's
want.
not
Okay,
excessive
we've
spending and lax.
We've got a lot of things like that networking up at the, Depspan, whatever they're doing, the industrial board up there, so much money's going out for that.
Tell me what they do. Tell me what they.
I don't know, you tell
Then
me
how do you
what
know
they
it's
do.
excessive spending?
Well,
Tell me what they do.
from what I'm talking, and I'm trying to learn, from what I'm hearing from other people, they say it's been going on, there's nothing happening up there.
Hang on a second.
Bills and
Nancy.
this
For
stuff that's going with it.
expansions.
Okay, we've had expansions for the last 2 years. We got 4 major expansions coming. And we have probably an industry that will be coming in within, by 2018. What Networks does for us, guys, what you all don't realize, we lost our industrial developer when Ronnie left. Lynn Lawson came in and worked for, 5 years for $50,000. We could not even pay the expenses for an industrial developer for $50,000. We paid Networks $50,000. They are out constantly selling fixed bin up there. Now, up until a year ago, there was not a whole lot going on anywhere across the United States. Right now, there's activity going on. We have had, the year before, we had 17 prospects for the whole year. And that was amazing for us because our surrounding counties had hardly any. This year already, we have had 15 prospects. We've got 2 prospects looking at the spec building this week. So Networks is more than doing their job. The things that they do for us, we could not afford. An average salary for an industrial developer is anywhere from $97,000 to $100 and whatever they want to get. So what we're getting for $50,000 is a bargain. And, for people to say that we don't need industrial development, well, if you want to see our county go down the tubes, stop bringing industrial development in.
I'm not saying we don't need it, but it seems like every year, and this is from what I'm hearing from other people too, I don't understand.
Who are you hearing this from?
I'm hearing it from other taxpayers. I'm hearing it from my neighbors and people like that. Every time a budget comes up, y'all, rumors going around, this thing's in the process of selling. Larry Elkins had something on there 4 weeks ago. It's all secret. Nobody still has heard anything about it.
The reason
The
you have to
people
keep
don't
it,
know the details and what you were
You
saying.
can't
We don't
have
know how it
details.
works because nobody tells anybody.
because we are in a competition with all the United States. Little Hawkins
I
County
mean,
is a
how the
competition.
network works, what its purpose is, what it does, why we're spending, giving Kingsport $30,000 or whatever to do it.
Now, that's hosting business development group, that's something totally
Well,
different.
that's what I'm talking about, that network.
Hey, hosting business
I
development
made
group
this word.
has put 2 industries in Phipps Bend Park in the last 3 years. So, You know, all these things, all we're hearing, create jobs, create jobs. We're trying to create jobs.
And that's $28,000 that's going to that, that's going to pay the utilities.
Right.
For the incubator.
And
they're
they're
included
working
in that
constantly.
20% cut.
And they're included in the 20%.
Right.
Yeah.
So they stand to go from, they were at 30,000, 2%,
What,
it put them at
And it's not just us
29,400.
that's
The
financing them,
additional
Kingsport is
20%
financing them
is
also.
23,520.
Yeah. We're in a joint venture with Kingsport on Fitzbend Park and the incubator. And those two are two tools that we use constantly to help us recruit. We do not have a major airport. When we bring a jet in here to bring people, a prospect in, they land up at Seguinsville. And then once they land in Seguinsville, we have to take that jet back to Kingsport because we don't have a runway long enough that plane can take off again. So we have to drive those people to Kingsport. Now somebody's got to do that.
They can land on it.
It can land on it, but it cannot take off because it's too heavy to take back off because the runway is not long enough. All right, so you got that problem. We do not have a major interstate. We have 11W through here, but we do not have a major 4-lane going through our community. So therefore, that's another thing that hurts us. And we don't have a lot of incentives to give people. We, you know, if it was not for doing the 3-star and some of the things through the state, we would not even have an opportunity for these people to come in. We don't have anybody to go out and go across the United States and recruit for us. And that's what Networks does for us. They go across the United States and recruit for us. They post, I know somebody's complained about them posting something up at the race. That costs Hawkins County nothing. That's included in that little measly $50,000. And they host 27 prospects from across the United States just to get them to come in and look at Northeast Tennessee. There's no way that we could afford to do that. The suite alone would not even, we could not even get the suite.
If
We-
you do
they
away
have
with
an
that recruiting tool, and
Right.
you eliminate
We
the
have
chances for businesses to come in here,
Right.
then you're putting the burden back on the
So that's gonna be a
taxpayer.
lot right there.
We're going down the road.
And a lot of other people don't know too, that, you know, keep saying things like.
What else is excessive spending? Because we want to get
Yeah.
the rumors.
Yeah.
Well, we hear, you know, from what some others are talking, like fire department does stay in the valley. Don't sell it to somebody for a dollar, doesn't they get out from under the overhead on that. Quit paying $5,000 for a toilet up there at election time, it's in the line item on the budget. I mean, that's
I
what
don't
I
think
looked at it
that's-
last night, that's what it said, for
I
one
think
toilet,
what'd she say she
$5,000,
spent?
$4,000.
Was it $200?
They're
That's
$165 for
Right.
two porta pots.
But that's what it is under the budget. And then we're paying the utilities on
I
that, who
think
knows
she-
what it is for a year. and
I
get
think
out
the
from under
gentleman
that.
I think the gentleman that brought that up was showing in the budget that was not true. See, that's the bad thing. People stand up at these commission meetings and they give out a lot of misinformation, and it does not get corrected. And that's the bad part of it, is nobody corrects. And then everybody gets on social media and spreads it all out there, and all of a sudden, this misperception is everybody, oh, well, that's what's happening.
Well, when I got online and I pulled up last year's budget we're in right now, I went down to it, and it said toilets, and then that from it gave that price.
It doesn't say toilet, I have it right
Or
here.
for a toilet, what
What's
is
it
it, what
say?
has it worded there?
The election commission budget, are you talking about where there's other equipment and there's $5,000 appropriated? Is that
It
what
said,
you're
yeah, it
talking
said
about?
something in parentheses about it,
Rentals, precincts, and portalets.
portables.
That's precincts and portals. Both of them.
That's the whole thing.
Renting precincts.
That's for the whole
The
county.
building, no, that's for
Rent for the building.
allowing you to use their building for X amount of time for the election.
I thought it was our building.
No, you don't rent that building, it is a county building. You don't pay no rent on that one. But you have, there's other rent on the other place.
Okay, I seen that said portal, I thought it was man portal. I mean, some of the language, that's what's kind of.
Porta potties
The
are
rentals,
$165 for a regular and a handicap. I rent them every event.
That's what people say and get on the social media and go on about, because that's the perception and definition of what we're taking together.
But why don't, I guess the thing is, instead of getting on, why don't you ask the commission? That's the thing, when they get up there and start asking, that's like, We have this gentleman that gets up there and bloviates for 30 minutes every meeting, and he's talking about a mega site in Chattanooga. There's no way that Hawkins County will ever compete with a mega site in Chattanooga. They spent millions and millions of dollars and brought Volkswagen in there. We don't have millions, and we're barely making the $50,000. So, we can't compare. They've got 2 major interstates going by that site. We don't, and probably will never have. So those are things that, once again, if people would ask the questions, it's just like when you're talking about the school system. 4 or 5 years ago, they were taking offices and turning them into classrooms because they had so many students. What's going to happen 5 years down the road or 4 years down the road when we're doing that same thing again? All of a sudden, we got a lot of people move in here. If we get this plant and we get these expansions, that's a possibility. And so if that happens, then, you've lowered their maintenance of effort, and then what are we gonna do then? So, y'all need to, you need to think about all the trickle down stuff that happens when you make decisions that,
You just said a few minutes ago you want to fund the fire departments, fund them, everybody needs them, but then the next comment you make is you're wanting to burden the fire department with a building and a utility bill, that you said was $5,000 a year.
Every other one does that.
Every
other fire department.
they're paid fire departments.
Churchill Fire Department's paid by the county.
Is it?
The
But which
fire
one's
department in Stanley Valley was a community center before it was ever a fire department. I mean, if the county wants to give it away, they'll take it, and they'll try to run it the best they can.
But it still acts as a community center, even though the fire department is housed there, it continues to be a community center that is open to the public for certain things in the.
If it's only used once a month, that's taxpayers getting to use that building. That's how I feel about that.
And it says the county is
Give
to
something
do all
back.
the upkeep to the building. Fire department don't make the county do the upkeep to the building.
Why are we picking on one fire department?
And then,
It's been the center of the media.
the lady beside you was talking
We got
about
how many fire departments?
internet service that you have to use the library. There's 2 places in Stanley Valley, one is Follett's Church that you have free internet, and the other one's Stanley Valley Fire Department that you have internet. There's 2 computers set up, fire department that the community has access to come in and get internet, whether it be filling out applications.
Well, that don't need to be messed with either, because there's a lot of people don't have their own computers for internet, and they need.
That's just,
And if they
we
can
work
afford
with
it,
Scott
they can
County to do that.
Well, it's not even accessible. I live 3.5 miles out of town.
Oh, you have to tell me about it.
service.
You don't have to tell me about it. I live out there next to Camp.
Okay, what-
Under the
What else have we
rental,
spent money on?
$200 payment to Superior Septic, would that be for the court?
The house and having the next road on, but, just a lot of little things people are looking at that seems like
Yeah.
it's continued going.
There's some of the stuff, Al, that you talked about, that this budget committee has no authority over. If they took a notion to sell that building that we're talking about, they have to go from the buildings committee, not the budget committee. And then come the budget committee, and then go to full commission. The budget committee is trying to set a budget.
And if you sell the building, what about those residents in Stanley Valley? What are they gonna do for
And we hear a lot about the airport. Could you explain the airport? Didn't they?
Well, a lot of people are under the misconception that the airport is budgeted at $1.4 million,
Yeah.
that we spend that money at the airport. And I think the actual cost budget for the airport's about $55,000. The $1.4 million that you're seeing in your budget documents that come through last year was revenue collected through grants.
But we cannot sell it, right?
No.
Unless you can come up with
This
that
budget
money to pay
committee
them
could sell
back.
for $1
You
million.
have to pay all that money
The
back.
other thing you
One
need to
paying back.
realize for the airport, it's not a record, we have industries, we have 52 industries in Hawkins County. And they fly in parts to that airport all the time to keep their business from going down. If we don't have that airport fly in, they gotta fly them into Kingsport. You gotta look at the things that, what's gonna entice, what few things have we got to entice industry to come in here? And it will make a difference to where that industry is shut down all day, or if it's shut down for an hour or two. So,
Well, when our expansion on the Pulaski project created 50 jobs,
Homeland Vinyl, they just announced it at the state yesterday, or Friday, yes. It's gonna create 50. Right now, it'll create 50, and it has potential to create more. And we have 3 other existing plants up there that's doing the same thing, and we sold the green space up there, so, you know.
Well,
But, you know, you
When
talk
was
about-
Homeland Vinyl in the paper?
That came out Friday, I think.
Friday.
Is that, yeah, I was off Friday, and I had to come back in from mowing and write it up.
My brother-in-law works up there, and he said they couldn't even get people to fill out applications for that. Up there.
If you look right now, we have 15 industries hiring in Hawkins County.
That was for, I mean, that's.
I'm gonna clear up the portalet. It's $200 per election, we paid a Superior Septic, and it's for 1 handicap portalet and hand washing station.
how
And
much?
$200 in September, we paid in September, and $200 in November, and that's it.
In the current budget, the county budget, building committee appropriated $6,000 to put a bathroom in that building, so the county would have a bathroom in there. That building's under county insurance. It's, inspected by the safety director along with our insurance company. We have to make all recommended repairs and upkeep as recommended by the insurance company.
Why they have like 4,000 dollars out in that?
That's everything else in there.
Because they're also paying these volunteer fire departments, it looks to me like they're paying $100.
Now, they're not paying us because it's
No.
just a county building.
But others, where they're using their buildings.
Where they're using Clinch Valley Fire Department, Crossroads United Methodist, Goshen Valley, Lakeview Volunteer Fire Department, North Fork Ruritan Club, Clayton Sonic Lodge, Striggerville Fire Department, Persia, well, that's his Persia General Store.
That's it.
Is it?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Superior Septic, $200
So they spend $200 a day.
per election.
Say that's where it's confusing, you know, I'm not. used
But
to
that's
reading that
very
first time
bad
I look at it.
misinformation.
Say, yes, that's the assumption that I've got, probably a lot of people.
You can have
200 versus
fire.
5,000.
I've just got one question. I know that there is no way that we're gonna get above having a tax increase, one way or the other, tax, if we own a property, I mean, we all know that, that's a given. But I just have a question that, is there not any more cuts anywhere that can be made before, I mean, I know not enough to do without the wheel tax, or, well, I know that, but is there not any more cuts that can be made? I mean, I don't know what
Okay,
y'all's
you
budget
heard,
looks
you
like,
heard
so
the
that's why I
cuts,
just
the
asked.
voluntary cuts on draft 1 before anything.
Cause see, I'm not seeing the budget, I just asked.
Voluntary cuts, $261,622. The line item reduction, $77,250. The 20% cut, $105,781. Moving the 4.02 cents to the general fund from the schools, $395,856. So when you add all that
Is
up,
the school the only one that's, is Steve the only one that's done like a major cut?
Steve didn't do a major cut. We took
Well,
it
I'm
from-
talking about like where he's,
He-
the employees.
We,
and
we,
things.
we did do major cut.
Exactly, exactly.
The most has come from him because the county has to meet maintenance of efforts with the
Right,
school.
I know that.
And we can take the $395,000 from the school that still needs maintenance of efforts.
and see, this county doesn't have the
There's not a
state
purchase order
funds
goes
like.
across, you don't look at it and
schools
see.
do.
Well, I know he's made cuts, cause I've seen, you know, I know about the employees and stuff, and I know you all made cuts. But what I'm saying, is there other, besides the schools, is there others that's made cuts? 'Cause
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't-
everybody has, the county buildings, the sheriff, I read that list off. All your office holders, with the exception of one that included a new vehicle and smartphones. But the rest of them have cut.
I didn't know, that's why, I'm not solid budget.
Yeah, that's how we got,
But you did line item reductions to
and
the.
we did line item reductions within their budgets, yeah. That's how we made everybody mad.
But one difference
Well, I
too
figured
is,
that.
one
But I
difference
didn't know how
too,
much.
We're equal about it. We keep the public mad.
one
we keep
difference too with
office
the county
holders mad too.
general fund budget versus school budget is you have elected officers that are constitutional officers, and several of those are fee officers. and they've got letters of agreement that he referenced where they have letters of agreement for their positions, and that includes, and you've got a maintenance of effort for the sheriff. And he's by far the largest budget in the general fund. He's close to 40% of it, and he's got a maintenance of effort. And you cannot reduce his positions or salaries without a consent. If you try to start reducing the trustee, the county clerk, the register of deeds, the clerk and master, circuit court, their fee offices, they may or may not take that because they have the option to sue. And we have practically nothing budgeted in legal fees, I'll tell you that, because we've not had legal fees. And then beyond that, you've got offices, you've got your general sessions judge, your juvenile court judge, you've got your county buildings, we've already took a position and a half out of that. I mean, there's not much left, I mean, because they have the right to file a salary suit. I mean, that's a constitutional right that they have as an office holder.
Well, like I said, I've not got to see a budget, and, I've been trying to keep up on all this stuff, and I've not actually saw one to know, so that's why I was asking if everybody had, I know Steve had, but, I don't know about the others, that's why I was just asking.
But what
I think
major difference?
I think a lot of things that has happened through the years is a lot of these a lot of the different places that we fund has been asking and asking and asking for stuff, and they've been given all these things, when now it's put us in shape.
I agree with you on that.
And it's not, it's not just one place, it's several. Because I've seen that over time. And some things that could have been not given, that could have been done without, and then here you are in this shape.
You cut y'all made, y'all did something like paving the Justice Center, and I rode up by there yesterday, I don't see why it didn't pay.
Well, you haven't seen the hole fell into it, have you?
Well, I went all the way around, all in front of
I
it.
know it
tell you
was-
what, I live right beside the highway.
Lil Bean.
They got a heck of a lot better thing than I do right in front of the highway department.
Lil Bean
And they're no better than Coal Patch.
Little Bean come up there and fix where it sunk in.
That parking lot wasn't done right when they done it to start with.
You can see where some had been fixed, but I said,
No, because it fell apart too quick, it wasn't done right to begin with, or it wouldn't.
Well, we use like what y'all said earlier, common sense, we pushed it back.
Right.
But it's gonna have to be done at some point.
When the county purchased that property and we determined that there was gonna be a justice center and a jail there, the budget committee looked at the budget for that project, and repaving the existing parking lot was not part of the project because the county commission said, we want to conserve the money. We are not going to add anything to the project itself, just the building. So they did not do any paving, okay? So that parking lot has not been paved since Kmart started the building. Now, it's, I don't know how many years old, we've owned the building probably we moved in 2010, so we've had it for a while. But it's in need of, it's sinking in a lot of places.
Yeah, I know,
It needs it, but we've put that aside as something that we don't have to do today, but somewhere down the line, we will have to do with the parking lot.
Yeah, well, that's just like a lot of other things, somewhere down the line, there's a lot gotta be done, just like.
I'm just afraid we're gonna hit on down the line with a
We're
bunch
gonna
of,
keep kicking
just like
this
sheriff
can
patrol
until
cars.
there ain't no
We
more kick.
set up a few years ago to buy 5 a year. Well, now this is the second year we've missed that. So now we're gonna get backed in a corner to where we're gonna be spending $500,000 at some point to try to keep deputies on the road.
That's like I said about things too, we got a problem this year, I'm looking like out for my grandkids, what's next year and the year after gonna look at it, it is gonna get worse, cost of living goes up, people know the taxes increases, it's got to come, but they
I don't
they want to
understand.
see everything whittled down.
Yeah, I don't understand though where a lot of citizens are like, no tax, no tax, no tax. But like I've told several people, come to the meetings and you'll see where there has to be a tax increase somewhere.
Well, if you just look on the back page there where the state mandated, the salary increases, there's nothing we can do about that.
Right.
And that's been going on for how long? And,
And
so.
that's a lot of the problem with how you guys are paying.
But a lot of people out there talking, they don't want a real tax, they don't want a property tax. I don't know what they expect, because one or the other is not,
Well, you're either gonna lose services or you're gonna have to pay for them.
Exactly.
I don't think anybody on this county commission as a whole just sit down and say, let's spend as much money as we can, do whatever we need to do. I think everybody here, and I've only been on it 3 months, and everybody here has tried their best to do what the citizens ask them.
They have
Here's
for a long
what's
time.
hurt the office holders. You see the unassigned fund balance was projected to be $800 and some thousand at the end of this year.
Right.
Well, we're estimating to be about 1.7, 1.8, what's coming in.
Again, that's preliminary.
That's preliminary, but we're getting, whether it be 1.2 or, that's because they have quit spending. And it's kinda like the old saying, you're kicking that can down the road because they quit spending, then next year, you cut them, well, they may need something out of that line item. So it's hard to come in and pick those budgets apart when you've got cooperation from the office holders that have quit.
And then you gotta decide what services you don't want anymore.
But with,
You can't satisfy everybody, I know that, but the thing of it is, I've tried to tell lots of people, come to the meetings and see, and hear what they've got to say, because, you know, a lot of people say, oh, we're not debt, well, yeah, come to the commissioners' meetings and listen.
we're about $76 million in debt that's structured to be paid for out of our debt service, which is assigned
And I've tried to
pennies
tell
on
you,
the
I've
tax
tried to
roll
tell
that
people,
goes
there's
there.
gonna be a tax increase somewhere, or we're not gonna make the budget, there's no way.
Or we're one,
And I've tried to tell people that, but they just like, act like you know, look at you like you got a third eye or something, you know?
well.
And I said, well, I go and try to keep informed, I'm telling you, I know, you know.
If
There's
we
so
were
many
to
out there,
have-
Nancy, that don't know that, you know?
Right, if we were to have some kind of major emergency in Hawkins County right now, if a hazardous waste truck went through Hawkins County, or we had some kind of major emergency like rock slide over on 70, not saying we're gonna have, but yeah, we could have something, we're bankrupt. That's just as plain as
You
you can
never
say.
know when something like that's gonna happen either, you know?
We've got some office holders here. I want to, any office holder that wants to speak to the budget committee pertaining to their budget cuts is welcome to step up first. Nancy, I don't know what was hitting your budget. But you wanna come speak on anything?
I don't think there was anything in mine because my budget is so tight anyway, there wasn't any room to take anything out, I don't think. I'm still working on trying to purchase
Oh,
stuff.
Donna, hold on, I don't mean to interrupt you. Hal, Donna, do you care to talk to Hal outside for just a second, explain to him how
Okay.
that 5,000 was spent on, she'll explain to you.
I gotta go take care of my father-in-law, but yeah, I'd like to, that way I'll know what to explain that to him.
Okay, I'm sorry, Nancy, go.
Oh, that's
I
fine.
apologize.
You know, right now I'm just trying to transfer some money around so I can purchase the signature pads that I've been needing for 2 years now, so that's really, there wasn't anything else to cut. I've cut it as much as I possibly think I can and still maintain what I need to do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee?
I have no problem with the cut. The problem I had is we didn't know about it, and the change, you know, we were in here being questioned about our budgets and stuff, and nobody questioned anything in my budget. And then I found out my tax notice is one of the most important things in my budget got hit. If they don't go out, we don't collect revenue. We don't collect revenue, we can't meet the budget. But I'm good with it. I think we'll be fine. If not, we'll juggle it around. We'll get there. But cut on mine, yeah, no big deal. I just wish you guys had called us back in and let us.
That's what we're here today for, we're on a timeline. And actually, the budget here is just an optional thing. The way the state reads, you just submit your budget to the county, and the budget committee reviews and makes changes, recommendations, and approves it. But we kind of take it one step further, and we sit down one-on-one with the office holders. But that's just an option. That's not a mandated thing that we have to do.
Well, that's a good thing, because when you start messing with line items, like, you know, you probably remember about 4 months ago, something, we were talking about cutting my budget, and that's where you all wanted to cut it, and I explained it was the tax notices, and you didn't cut it, and you turned around and did, but all that other, you know, it's water under the bridge. No, I'm fine with mine, it's good.
This committee's not against the office holder.
I know, and I'm just trying to make it clear, like my budget, I looked at the numbers this morning. The part of my budget that I control has changed, that's from communications down, which we started kind of tweaking the communications together. It's changed in 3.5 years, maybe, I don't know, $2,000 or $3,000 has gone up, that's it. So, I know you're not against us.
I apologize, but we've only got to set the number of revenue to work with. Unless the county approves any new revenue.
And I don't have a problem with being cut, that's what I'm saying. good with it.
And I apologize, I feel like some people are taking it personal towards me, but
Oh, I did at first, when I was notified that Jeff Bobo would be in the Times News, so that's how I found out about it, I read it in the paper, but after I talked to you, that was good. Thank you.
we'll find afterwards. Was he standing up when he was talking?
I'm getting ready to stand back up. I'm getting ready to stand back up.
Is the sheriff in there? Is the sheriff here?
I don't think so, I didn't see him.
He was.
He's gone.
I guess what we need to do is take this, put it in budget form, and present it to the full budgets, to the full commission for the budget workshop, and then let them make any recommendations that they want to make.
When are you gonna have a budget workshop?
I don't know.
You think we'll have better attendance?
I ain't gonna say what the problem, we hope.
I did have a commissioner or two say to me they preferred it to be later in the day.
Well, the budget workshop will be like at 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
I think you have better with that, because there's so many people told me they was gonna take off from work.
Well, those commissioners, they take off to attend their committee meetings during the day.
I think Sonny talked about they had such short notice, got the invite like on Thursday. That's not what a couple told me.
Well,
I got mine in the mail, so.
I'll entertain a
They
motion
should have to.
for the finance director to go ahead and put this in the budget form and send it to the full commission budget workshop, or how does that need to work, Elena? Does that need to wait till after we meet with
I was
education?
gonna say, you need to meet jointly with the education and budget committee first, since you're talking about.
We have a meeting scheduled for this Thursday, the 18th, 6 o'clock at Volunteer High School to consider education budget. So if that goes well, then possibly we can meet the following week. We'll have to look at some things, so got a lot going on in the next 2 weeks with the school system.
Oh, yeah, ready for winding things down.
So what would you be looking at, like the,
Your regular county commission meeting is the 22nd. If you wanted to meet prior to that, or
we won't have time? You're meeting the 18th, right?
Yeah, it's Thursday.
Do we have to meet before the county commission meeting?
Well, you can't, sometimes the budget committee does meet, so, I mean, that could be an option depending on how much time he.
25th, 7 o'clock.
County Commissioners meet the 22nd.
Yeah, because the following Monday's Memorial Day.
Yeah.
What about the 25th, at like 1 o'clock or something? Or 1:30 on the 25th?
We'll make it work.
That's to hear, have a joint meeting with the education committee.
And what will that mean, Dave?
That will be,
Usually here, and
be right here, yeah.
that's 10 to,
1:30.
it's your meeting, you're setting, not a bigger.
Well, no, if it don't work for you, we'll do something else.
Yeah.
I'll try to make it work, I'm just saying that we have
Does
an
the
affirmative
22nd work
action, I'll
for
let
you?
you know.
Does the 22nd work for you prior to?
I can make the 25th, that's fine.
It's county commission day.
Right, prior to, that's what you first mentioned.
1:30.
Yes, sir. Here. Yeah, 25th at 1:30. You will go ahead and prepare this for, do we have any other?
With- You want it prepared, you want the details from draft two.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, we don't have any other further business this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Commissioner Davis, have a second. Second by Commissioner Christian, all in favor, let me know by saying aye.